Welcome to the NPC Energy Podcast. You've sent over a really fascinating stack of anonymous sources for us to explore today.
Yeah, quite a collection. Looks like we're diving into a report called Horizons of Possibility.
Exactly. So this simulated journey is all about navigating the frontiers of knowledge, technology, innovation, basically figuring out the edges of what we know and what might be possible.
And looking at recent paradigm shifts, right?
Yeah.
Where things might be heading.
That's the plan. You clearly like getting the big picture without getting lost in jargon, so we'll aim for that clear, compelling insights.
Sounds good. These sources, they cover a lot of ground. Philosophical horizons, physical limits, even biology.
And then some really specific stuff from around 2024, 2025, AI, biotech, quantum computing, cosmology.
Right, and how they all might be starting to connect. Plus some speculative futures. Should be some interesting aha moments in there.
Definitely. Okay, let's start the simulated journey with the edge of knowing. The sources get right into epistemology. What does it even mean to know something?
Yeah, it's a classic question. The report touches on historical figures, Locke, Kant, Russell, different takes on where knowledge comes from, senses, reason, observation.
And it brings up this idea of how we, build our understanding. Is it like building on solid foundations or more like making sure all our beliefs fit together coherently?
That's a key tension. And the report stresses, we probably can't have perfect certainty. So often we're aiming for what's permissibly believable, not necessarily optimal, absolute knowledge.
So uncertainty is kind of baked in, but we can still move forward. But then there are these limitations the sources talk about. Some sound temporary epistemological limits.
Right, like maybe gaps in our current understanding or tools.
Yeah.
But then there are these other things called epistemic barriers.
And those sound more serious, like maybe fundamental constraints?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Could be things like, the limits of our senses or how language shapes thought, maybe even logic itself.
That leads into Kant's idea, which the report brings up, this idea that time, space, cause and effect, they aren't just out there in the world.
Exactly. Kant argued they're more like inherent structures in our minds, like the operating system our reason uses to process everything.
Which means our very way of thinking shapes and maybe limits what we can understand about reality. That's kind of mind-bending.
It is, and it ties into the discussion about logic. Logic is crucial, obviously, for processing information.
But what if the universe isn't entirely logical? The report makes this distinction, doesn't it, between episteme,
Scientific objective knowledge.
doxa, which is more like just opinion. Science aims for episteme, but it has to acknowledge that uncertainty, which impacts prediction.
Absolutely. But the report also offers a bit of optimism here. It reminds us that many things science once considered absolute barriers, well, they aren't barriers anymore.
Right, we overcame them, new tools, new ideas. So today's limits might not be limits forever.
Precisely. The boundaries are dynamic.
Okay, let's shift gears in our simulated journey now. Let's talk about reality's constraints. The anonymous sources get into the nitty-gritty of physical and computational limits.
Yeah, starting with computability theory. People like Turing and Gödel, they basically showed there are problems that, computers just fundamentally cannot solve.
The halting problem being the classic example, right? You can't make a program that perfectly predicts if any other program will ever stop or just run forever.
Exactly. It's not just hard, it's mathematically impossible. And the Church-Turing thesis kind of defines this boundary, what any step-by-step mechanical process can calculate.
But then you hit the real world, actual physics.
Right. And the report lists some key physical limits. The speed of light, obviously. A hard limit on how fast information can travel, how fast things can process.
And thermodynamics comes into play, too. Something about erasing information.
Landauer's principle. Yeah, it says there's a minimum energy cost just to erase one bit of data in standard irreversible computing. It might seem tiny, but it adds up.
Plus, things like the cosmic microwave background, setting a sort of minimum temperature limit for the universe.
And then quantum mechanics throws in its own limits. The Bekenstein-bound maximum information in a region of space, Bremerman's limit maximum computation speed for a given mass energy.
So all these fundamental limits, they basically spell trouble for Moore's law continuing forever with our current silicon tech, don't they?
Pretty much. You can't just keep shrinking things indefinitely without hitting these walls.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why there's so much interest in totally different ways of computing.
The report mentions a few. Reversible computing to save energy, quantum computing, obviously a huge one.
And even more, exotic ideas. using DNA, single electrons, quantum dots. There's even speculation about computronium, or using black holes.
Wow, but the big challenge, as the report notes, is actually building these things, right? Going from abstract theory to working hardware.
Absolutely. That's the massive engineering hurdle for many of these futuristic computing ideas.
Okay, let's pivot our simulated journey again, this time to the biological horizon. Are there similar fundamental limits on, say, human lifespan?
Well, the report points out something interesting. We saw huge gains in life expectancy in the 20th century, right?
Yeah, mainly by tackling infectious diseases, improving sanitation, basic stuff.
Exactly. But since maybe the 1990s, in places where people already live long lives, those gains have really slowed down, plateaued almost.
So the suggestion is we might be bumping up against the fundamental biology of aging itself.
That's the idea. We're getting better at treating specific age-related diseases, heart disease, cancer, etc., but maybe not the underlying aging process that makes us vulnerable to them in the first place. There are diminishing returns.
Right. Fixing the symptoms, but not the root cause. And this leads to that shift in focus the report mentions.
Towards health span, yeah. Not just living longer, but living healthier for longer. Because who wants extra years spent in frailty?
Nobody. So geroscience, the study of aging itself, becomes critical.
Hugely important. That's seen as the real frontier for improving health span, and maybe, potentially, lifespan, too. But the report floats this intriguing idea
What's that?
that maybe our natural lifespan isn't some far-off number we haven't reached yet. Maybe modern medicine has just helped us reclaim the years that used to be lost to infections and harsh conditions. Maybe we're already near our natural limit without major intervention in aging itself.
It's a sobering thought. Okay, let's dive into the section you flagged as potentially very exciting. Engines of transformation, focusing on developments around 2024-2025. Our anonymous sources really highlight progress here, starting with AI's ascent.
Yeah, the performance jumps on standard benchmarks have been, well, dramatic. Things like MMMU, GPQA, SSWE bench. AI is getting much better, much faster.
And more efficient, too.
That's a key point. Smaller models, like Phi-3 Mini apparently, are reaching capabilities that needed huge models just a short while ago, and the cost for similar performance is dropping significantly.
That makes it more accessible, presumably. And it's not just benchmarks, is it? AI and actual science.
Right. The report mentions things like AI Scientist D2, supposedly doing autonomous research, even getting published, GenoAgent for identifying genes. AI is a muse in physics. It's becoming less of a tool and more of a collaborator.
Still got challenges, though. The report is balanced on this. Hallucinations.
Absolutely. AI making stuff up, factual errors, that's still a big one. Plus safety, privacy, explainability, knowing why the AI decided something. And of course, the potential for misuse, like deepfakes.
There's that trade-off, right, between AI being novel and creative versus being accurate and reliable.
Exactly, and people are working on ways to mitigate the risks using theoretical guidance, giving confidence scores for answers, things like that.
But despite the issues, adoption is booming, writing, business, everywhere. Huge investments, especially the US versus China comparison, is interesting.
Yeah, the U.S. seems to lead in investment dollars, while China often leads in metrics like publications or patents. Different strategies, perhaps.
And all this AI is actually impacting internet traffic.
Apparently so. The infrastructure demands are growing.
Yeah.
And public opinion seems to be shifting too, maybe becoming a bit more optimistic in some Western countries.
Fascinating. Okay, next engine. Biotechnology's revolution. Gene editing. CRISPR. This feels like it's really maturing fast.
It really is. The approval of Casgevy for sickle cell and beta thalassemia, that's a massive milestone. It shows this technology can actually be curative.
And how does Casgevy work, basically?
It involves editing the patient's own stem cells outside the body ex vivo to switch back on the production of fetal hemoglobin, which doesn't sickle. Clinical trial results were apparently very effective.
And CRISPR isn't standing still. The toolkit is expanding.
Definitely. Newer systems like CRISPR-Cas12a for more complex edits.
Yeah.
And then base editing and prime editing these allow for changing single DNA letters without making those double-strand breaks in the DNA.
Which is potentially safer, less risk of unintended changes.
That's the hope. More precision, less risk. Base editing is already in trials for sickle cell too. You can see how this could become a real platform technology for many genetic diseases.
And it's not just medicine, right? Agriculture too.
Huge potential there. Using CRISPR for precise, rapid development of better crops, more resilient, higher yield, better nutrition, even taste. And because it can be very precise, it might face different regulations than older GMO techniques.
Then there's synthetic biology. Designing and building new biological parts and systems. Sounds like sci-fi.
It kind of does. The report lists examples like glowing petunias, microbes making recycled polyester or lab-grown cotton, optimizing pollination with tech, crops that signal stress, even making biofertilizers or discovering new bioactive compounds in plants.
Lab-grown meat getting faster, new gene therapies. It's blurring industry lines, isn't it? With a big focus on sustainability, too.
Very much so. And we can't forget mRNA technology, obviously proven by the COVID vaccines.
Right. Its big advantage is modularity. You can adapt it quickly.
Exactly. So now researchers are exploring mRNA for lots of other things. Vaccines for flu, RSV, HIV, TB, Zika, and cancer immunotherapy personalized vaccines targeting tumor neoantigens. Some early results look promising,
Any other uses?
potentially delivering proteins for genetic disorders, maybe even regenerative medicine. The main challenges now are things like improving mRNA stability, better delivery systems, reducing doses, and getting around those ultra-cold storage requirements.
Okay, on to the third engine. Harnessing the quantum realm. Quantum computing. The goal is still tackling problems impossible for classical computers.
That's the core idea, and the report says there's steady progress in actually building and controlling the qubits, the basic quantum bits, using different physical systems. Superconducting circuits, trapped ions, neutral atoms, photonics,
And the quality of these qubits is improving.
significantly. 2-qubit gate fidelity, basically how accurately you can perform an operation involving 2 qubits, is getting up to 99 point something percent. Single qubits are even better. And systems with dozens, even over 100 qubits, are up and running.
But the big catch is still errors, right? Qubits are fragile.
Extremely fragile. Noise, decoherence, they lose their quantum state very easily. That's why the big shift in focus, mentioned in the report, is towards quantum error correction QEC.
Which involves using multiple physical qubits to protect the information in one logical qubit.
Essentially, yes. You encode the information redundantly, allowing you to detect and correct errors without destroying the quantum state. It's absolutely crucial for building useful, large-scale quantum computers.
And the industry is prioritizing this now.
Heavily. Roadmaps are pointing towards real-time error correction, maybe around 2028. And 2024 saw some really important experimental demonstrations.
What did they show?
Groups at Harvard, Medicare, and Google Quantum AI basically validated key QEC principles. They showed you could run algorithms on logical qubits, and crucially, that adding more physical qubits to the logical qubit really did suppress errors exponentially, as theory predicted.
So proof of principle, basically.
Exactly. And the work continues finding more efficient error-correcting codes, faster decoding methods, even designing specialized qubits that are naturally more resistant to certain errors. The industry has ambitious plans for scaling up the number of reliable logical qubits.
And even these current non-error-corrected machines are pushing boundaries.
Yes. The report mentions processors like Zhongzi 3.0 in China, with over 100 high-fidelity qubits. It apparently demonstrated quantum computational advantage on a specific task random circuit sampling that's considered infeasible for classical supercomputers. Milestones like these validate the potential and fuel the drive towards fault-tolerant machines.
It really feels like the field is moving from just optimizing individual qubits to tackling the whole system engineering challenge of reliable quantum computation.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, fourth engine, peering into the cosmos. This sounds like another area undergoing a revolution.
Definitely. New instruments like the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, combined with multi-messenger astronomy using light, gravitational waves, particles are transforming things.
JWST is the big star right now, isn't it? Looking back at the early universe.
Its infrared capabilities are incredible for that, carrying back to just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang. And is finding things that are, frankly, puzzling.
Like those red monsters.
Yeah, galaxies that seem way too massive and mature for how early they appear in cosmic history. They don't quite fit the standard models of how galaxies should form and grow so quickly.
So it's forcing revisions to the models.
It seems so. JWST is also pushing the distance record further back, finding galaxies like J80's GS Z14-0 and seeing surprisingly complex chemistry, like oxygen, very early on. It suggests the universe got enriched with heavy elements faster than we thought.
What else has JWST turned up?
All sorts of things mentioned in the sources. Possible young brown dwarfs outside our galaxy, galaxy gas outshining stars, maybe hinting at the very first generation of stars weighing an early Milky Way-like galaxy, finding planet-forming disks lasting longer than expected in the early universe. It's really shaking things up.
And the old mystery of dark matter. Still a mystery.
Still a huge mystery.
Yeah.
The report notes the search is diversifying beyond just WIMPs. People are looking for axions, maybe detectable via gamma rays, or primordial black holes. There's even speculation they could cause tiny wobbles in Mars's orbit.
And some are questioning if dark matter is needed at all.
There are alternative gravity models, yeah, like one called CCC plus TL, mentioned in the sources. It's still fringe, but the lack of direct detection of dark matter keeps the door open for alternatives.
Meanwhile, gravitational wave astronomy is becoming almost routine.
Maturing rapidly. LIGO, Virgo, KRGI are in their fourth observing run, O4, with much better sensitivity. They're detecting more mergers of black holes and neutron stars.
And the focus is shifting from just detection to detailed analysis.
Exactly. Studying the signals to learn about black hole kicks, spins, how they wobble or precess. Also searching for continuous waves from things like spinning neutron stars. O4 has already produced some intriguing candidates, like objects in that mass range between neutron stars and black holes.
Any predictions for new sources?
Theorists are looking at things like collapsing massive stars, collapsers, which might produce detectable rhythmic gravitational waves. It's becoming a powerful standard tool for probing the extreme universe.
Okay, let's step back and think about convergence and emergence. This seems like a key theme in the anonymous sources, how these different frontiers are starting to interact.
Absolutely. It's not just progress in isolation, it's the synergy. Advances in one area are turbocharging others, creating capabilities that wouldn't exist otherwise.
And AI seems to be a major catalyst everywhere.
It really does. The report gives so many examples. AI designing drugs, predicting protein structures, analyzing genomic data like GenoAgent, finding useful compounds in plants with bright seed, discovering new materials, processing astrophysics data from JWST or LIGO, running complex simulations of collapsers or climate.
It's shortening timelines, enabling personalized medicine, improving agriculture.
Across the board. But it's a two-way street, too. Other fields fuel AI. Better hardware like GPUs is essential for training bigger models. Maybe insights from neuroscience will inspire new AI architectures.
And quantum technologies could play a role.
Potentially huge. Quantum sensors could probe fundamental physics. Quantum computers could revolutionize computational chemistry for drug design, or material science, finding new catalysts, better materials for batteries or solar cells. Maybe even optimize complex systems like logistics, finance, or training AI itself.
So computation, classical, AI, quantum, it's like the fundamental infrastructure now.
Pretty much underlies all scientific and technological progress, which, as we discussed, means those fundamental limits on computation could become real bottlenecks down the line.
And all this data from new instruments analyzed by AI, it's changing how science is done.
It's definitely pushing towards a more data-driven discovery paradigm. It complements the traditional hypothesis-driven approach, letting us find complex patterns in massive data sets that we might otherwise miss. The convergence is undeniable, suggesting we're in for a period of accelerating compounding breakthroughs.
Which leads us naturally into speculative futures. What do the sources suggest might be coming? Let's start with plausible near-term stuff, maybe the next 10, 20 years.
Okay, near term. Deeper AI integration everywhere, research, business automation, decision-making, communication, content creation, customer service. Big impacts on labor markets seem likely.
Personalized medicine accelerated.
Yeah, driven by genomics, AI, mRNA, CRISPR. More tailored treatments, maybe earlier diagnoses using AI.
What about biotech and sustainability?
Expect growing market share for sustainable materials, food, and agriculture coming out of synthetic biology labs.
Quantum's impact. Still early days.
Likely early specialized impact. Near-term quantum devices, probably accessed via the cloud, tackling specific high-value problems in material science or finance, and quantum-resistant cryptography becoming increasingly vital.
And astronomy.
Multi-messenger astronomy becoming standard practice for studying things like supernovae or neutron star mergers.
Yeah, challenges too, right?
Oh, definitely. Increased automation raising job concerns, misinformation, and deepfakes becoming more sophisticated, surveillance issues, algorithmic bias, all needing serious countermeasures and governance. The near term feels like we're absorbing these powerful tools into existing structures, which enhances efficiency but sets the stage for bigger changes later.
Okay, now for the more imaginative long-term scenarios. Beyond 2 decades, the report lays out a few possibilities.
Yeah, 3 main ones, though they could overlap. Scenario A is the symbiotic age. Think seamless human-AI merging brain-computer interfaces, augmented thinking, AI managing complex global systems. Mature biotech allowing programmable biology, maybe radical health span extension, eliminating genetic diseases, designing new organisms, focus on augmenting humanity.
Scenario B sounds different. The post-biological transition.
This one considers the emergence of AGI, artificial general intelligence, or even superintelligence, ASI. The consequences are highly uncertain, could be unprecedented abundance, could be existential risk. Intelligence might decouple from biology entirely, migrating to more efficient substrates like computronium or hypothetical matryoshka brains. The dominant intelligence might not be biological anymore.
Wow. Okay, scenario C. The quantum and cosmic leap.
This focuses on breakthroughs in fault-tolerant quantum computing and fundamental physics or cosmology, unlocking new energy sources, manipulating matter at the quantum level, maybe even understanding or manipulating space-time. Combine that with AI and robotics for really ambitious space exploration, colonization, searching for ET, developing tech based on new physics principles.
These are vastly different futures.
Hugely different. And the path we take depends heavily on which technologies break through and, crucially, on the ethical frameworks and governance we establish. Research priorities, risk management, how benefits and power are shared, all critical factors.
Let's shift focus slightly to the spark of creation. How does innovation actually happen? The sources touch on the cognitive side.
Yeah, things like associative thinking, blending concepts, divergent thinking, seeing problems in new ways, intuition analogies, letting ideas incubate. The usual suspects in human creativity research.
But now AI, especially generative AI, adds a whole new layer.
It really does. These models can create novel text, images, music, code, even scientific hypotheses. They do it by learning incredibly complex patterns in their training data, essentially mapping out a latent space of possibilities and then navigating that space to generate something new.
Which raises the question, is this real creativity or just incredibly sophisticated pattern matching and recombination?
That's the million-dollar question. Does it have genuine understanding, or is it just remixing what it's seen? Interestingly, the report suggests AI hallucinations. The errors could almost be seen as explorations of less probable, more novel parts of that latent space, a tension between novelty and being grounded.
So AI is both a tool for creativity and a subject of creativity research itself, comparing its methods to human cognition. Can AI get beyond logical extension to deeper intuition? No.
Does radical innovation require those intuitive leaps? And can AI simulate that? Big open questions. And the report rightly points out innovation isn't just the idea, it's selection, development, diffusion. Radical ideas often face huge resistance.
Which ties into the next section, lessons from the edge, historical disruptions, looking back at past breakthroughs.
Yeah, the value of seeing how truly radical ideas reshaped everything. Progress isn't smooth. It's often incremental change punctuated by these huge shifts. Copernican revolution, Darwin, quantum mechanics, the digital computer.
Are there common patterns in these historical shifts?
The report suggests a few. Often there are new enabling technologies, telescopes, microscopes extending our senses. The new ideas almost always clash with established norms and face resistance. Usually there's anomalous data observations the old theories just can't explain. And eventually a new paradigm emerges that makes sense of the anomalies and opens new doors.
So history shows that what seems impossible can become foundational.
Exactly. It cautions against assuming only incremental progress ahead, and the resistance faced by Copernicus or Darwin. It helps us understand the hurdles today's disruptive tech AI, gene editing, quantum might face. How societies reacted in the past informs how we navigate adoption, regulation, ethics today. That tension between the new and the established.
Which brings us full circle to the final section, navigating the labyrinth, societal, ethical, and philosophical reckonings. The pace of change is forcing some hard questions.
Incredibly profound questions about identity, values, managing unprecedented power. AI brings a bias, job displacement, autonomous weapons, privacy, manipulation via deepfakes, and that huge long-term alignment problem. How do we ensure super AI aligns with human values?
Needs robust governance, international cooperation, standards for safety, transparency.
Definitely. Then biotech, especially gene editing like CRISPR. It hits right at human identity. Germline editing and heritable changes raises that therapy versus enhancement debate, equity of access, long-term gene pool effects, defining normal. And synthetic biology needs serious thought about biosafety and biosecurity.
And other frontiers have ethical dimensions too.
Quantum computing breaks current encryption, so we need quantum-resistant crypto urgently. Longevity research raises questions about resource allocation, intergenerational fairness, changing the human experience of mortality. Cosmology discoveries keep shifting our place in the cosmos, challenging human-centric views.
The report mentions a pace mismatch.
Yeah, technology sprints ahead while our ethical and legal frameworks lag behind. Just reacting isn't good enough anymore. And when these technologies converge, AI plus biotech, AI plus robotics, the ethical complexity multiplies.
So what's the way forward?
More than just tech fixes. Proactive, inclusive, global dialogue involving everyone, scientists, ethicists, policymakers, the public. Developing adaptive governance, ethical guidelines, cultures of responsible innovation, maybe even updating our philosophical frameworks. There's progress in areas like responsible AI, but translating principles into practice is tough.
Ultimately, it forces us back to fundamental philosophy. What does it mean to be human? What is consciousness? What do we value?
Exactly. Our relationship with technology, with the cosmos itself, it's all up for re-examination.
Okay, let's try to synthesize this simulated journey. We've explored these anonymous sources, looked at the horizons of possibility. What's the big takeaway?
I think it's that these horizons are incredibly dynamic and crucially interconnected. We're seeing profound advancements from the philosophical underpinnings of knowledge to the hard physics of the universe, all the way to the practical applications in AI, biotech, quantum, and cosmology. Change is happening fast, and it's accelerating.
And for you, the learner, the really interesting part is that convergence, isn't it? How these fields feed off each other. It's not just about individual breakthroughs anymore.
Right. It's the synergy. AI speeding up drug discovery via quantum simulations, maybe. Synthetic biology creating materials for quantum computers.
Yeah.
The interactions are where the truly mind-boggling possibilities lie.
So what does it all mean? I guess it means staying curious, staying informed like you are is more vital than ever. The definition of possible is being rewritten constantly.
And while the potential benefits are enormous, curing diseases, solving energy problems, understanding the universe, the ethical and societal challenges are just as significant. Hopefully this simulated journey gave you a good sense of those key developments and the big questions they pose.
Absolutely. So here's a final provocative thought for you to mull over, something to take away from this simulated journey. With AI advancing so rapidly and our cosmic perspective shifting, how might our very definitions of intelligence or maybe even life need to evolve in the coming decades?
That's a deep one to ponder. A lot to think about as you continue exploring these frontiers.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us on this simulated journey here on the NPC Energy Podcast.